Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello, my name is Carl H. Mitchell, the author of Friendship City and Sundown. And Friendship City is book 2 in the futuristic thriller trilogy, and Sundown was the first one. It was Sundown was published in November 2017, and Friendship City was just published this year in July, August. And both books are available in ebook format, paperback, and hardback. And they are, again, futuristic thrillers. Sundown takes place in the year 2057, Friendship City almost a year after, 2058. They both have the same lead characters. The President of the United States, Lenora Allison, and her mission is to combat the World Council that wants to control every nation and every person in the world. And also Detective Nick Garvey from Manhattan, who they join forces to beat, to try and beat and to conquer the World Council. And their nefarious leader, Jason Beck. The stories lines were laid out. I put them down in about 2010, 2012. And the storylines basically are maybe a little bit spooky. Friendship City, for instance, the second book, the President and Lenora Allison and Detective Nick Garvey are trying to defeat the resurging World Council that has just introduced into the United States a man-made killer plague. That's, I laid this plot line out back in 2012, and when this book went to the publisher in late 2019, early 2020, it wasn't long before it seemed rather spooky. And Sundown introduced these two characters, plus the World Council, plus Jason Beck, the dictator, if you will. And his goal was to control all the oil in the world. He had already destroyed about 70 to 80% of it. He controlled the rest and was making sure that each nation bowed to his will or they wouldn't get any oil. The President, Lenore Allison, her plan to combat this shortage of energy was to make use of a 30-year-old Japanese satellite and to capture the energy from the sun and beam it down to Earth. To do that, she had constructed over Manhattan a large grid called a rectenna to capture the energy from the sun and convert it and be able to turn on the lights of Manhattan and eventually the world. The battle in Sundown took, quite laid out the history, and President Allison and Detective Nick Garvey figured they had the World Council, if not destroyed, just beaten almost to a pulp. Well, guess what? In Friendship City, they didn't. The World Council was pulling together the scattered resources it had, and that's when they introduced this killer plague. Again, the same characters in the book. President Lenore Allison, a very strong woman that knows how to survive, get around, and deal with adversity. And Detective Nick Garvey, who's willing to extend himself, expose himself to danger to try and save the country. The other main plot line in Friendship City is the World Council has been attacking citizens of various places, and the most attacking they've done is in Matamoros, Mexico, and Brownsville, Texas, two cities separated by the Rio Grande River. And there's shooting going on, gangs invading, and what have you. And the citizens of both of these towns, Matamoros and Brownsville, petition their respective governments to allow them to join and form a autonomous city. Both governments, Mexico and the United States, agree. And these two cities form into one, and they call themselves Friendship City. And they have their own controls now. Both Mexico and the United States honor their wishes and what have you. One of the elements in there is that the citizens are proposing their own Bill of Rights with obligations that they will eventually vote on and will become, the guiding principles of Friendship City. The mayor and other political figures, they will, honor those bills of rights. And the Bill of Rights determines what the citizens can do. It covers immigration; people are welcome, and if they need education, the Friendship City will provide it. The Bill of Rights are listed in the back appendix of Friendship City, 10 that I put together initially, and another 18 that I invited other people to submit with credit for their names. The third book, which is just roughly laid out, will invite more of these Bill of Rights to be submitted with name credit. Let's see, these books, as I mentioned, are published in iBook format, paperback, and hardback cover, and are available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, and let's see. Oh, we got someone here. I saw your book front cover, that your book is an American Fiction Award winner. Can you tell us more about this recognition? Well, it's the AmericanBookFest.com invited people to submit for a contest, if you will, or submit for review and see where we would stand in the awards. They had maybe a varying set of awards. This Friendship City won the award in the category thriller and political thriller. So I was pleased for that. And Sundown, I didn't submit to any contest. Actually, when Sundown came out, I decided I had to do a little bit more than just publish the book. It took a while. As I say, I laid it out, these two storylines in the plot lines were established in 2012, and Sundown took about 7 drafts. And my experience is engineering background. I worked at IBM as an engineer and a programmer, and eventually as a first-line manager for 35 years. And so I dealt with technical aspects and people aspects. And the concepts of Friendship City and Sundown came from the technical and the relationship between people. That was important to me. How's the nomination or selection process like? Nominating, I guess, Bill of Rights. I asked them to send them nominating a Bill of Rights, as you can see in the book. That can be done through my website, carlhmitchell.com. There's a section where you can click on the borough, the original 10 boroughs, and submit another variation. And that comes to me, and I can include it. As I say, I had about 6-7 people submit 18 Bill of Rights. And the process in the book is the citizens propose these Bills of Rights. And then in the book it says there will be, in a year roughly, the election that we will decide. The people themselves will vote on which Bill of Rights they want to have or not to have, and that will be the final set, the initial final set. And nothing would prevent them from adding in the future a Bill of Rights, or to again vote down an existing Bill of Rights. And it applies to the citizens. We want the citizens to have an education in Friendship City, and the government of the city will do its best to provide that. And when you get to through grade school and high school, then the family is responsible financially for the college education. City will not pay for the education, but it will help the citizens in other ways. See, to get back to the again, the characters. Nick Garvey, a detective from Manhattan, his granddaughter in the first book was kidnapped. Jason Beck figured, hey, if I get his granddaughter, he'll do what I tell him to do. He eventually freed her. His daughter, his granddaughter's mom, she had a boyfriend thug that beat her up beat her up senseless to the point where she was in a coma. And that carries into Friendship City, where Nick is working his best to try and get the doctors and what have you to treat her and see if they can bring her out of the coma. And in Friendship City, President Lenora Allison, she works to muster everybody she can to track down these barrels of killer plague, and with Nick Garvey to destroy them and destroy the people that brought them in. Again, there's progress in that degree, but there's a cliffhanger at the end. And then again, the Bill of Rights. Let's see, I enjoyed writing the book. Like I say, Sundown took 7 drafts, and I eventually, I'm comfortable with writing fiction, but maybe grammar and what have you isn't the outstanding attribute I have. So I contracted a professional critiquer and editor, and who I name in the book, Acknowledgement. And then after submitting, I would say at least 45 to 50 agents, about a third of which that said, hey, we enjoyed the book, but it's just not fitting our needs. And right now the book has about 20 reviews written out in Amazon, and 4.5 or so stars average. Kim said, would you recommend this work to a non-mystery thriller fan simply on the basis of its literary merit? Oh, you're asking the author. I think basically there's for instance, in Sundown, there's family problems. Nick Garvey's daughter feels that Nick, the detective, part of the New York City Police, killed her uncle, her mother's brother, and her favorite uncle that used to play games with her. He did not, but she's convinced he did. In fact, Nick Garvey tried to say, hey, don't do things, don't do X, Y, or Z. And the uncle didn't listen to him, and his compatriots killed him. When she goes into her coma, he tries his best to, find the right doctor, and he's got his fingers crossed. Please let her recover and what have you, even though she may still hate me. I want her up on her own. So yeah, there's different elements. It depends how deep in a mystery and thriller people have. I submitted it to Sundown and Friendship City, each in their time, to Kirkus Reviews, and they came out very positive to it. But if you dislike thrillers and mystery, then it may be a little bit swayed away. there are human elements. There are people working together that I feel are positive. I didn't want to make it just all Mickey Spillane, although he was a good writer. Just focus on mystery only. I wanted to explore some of the human differences of the main characters. Let's see. Based on a literary merit, I would say I had the broad outline, and my professional editor, published author editor, reviewed it and said, picked out certain areas, or maybe I was foreshadowing a solution where he said, if you do this in chapter 2, when you resolve it in chapter 7, it won't be suspenseful anymore. So you got to keep a good flow. That's what, so I think it's definitely a little bit of sci-fi, and definitely in Sundown, maybe a little bit less so in Friendship City. But Friendship City has one of its main themes is to get diverse cultures. One city is Mexico, another is United States, Texas and Mexico. And they work together. And that was one of the things, again, I don't see too much of in today's environment, that the different cultures, one Mexican, the other Texan or United States, they can work together if you extend a hand to shake and not a fist to thrash with. So yeah, I try and sneak in a few views of society, and maybe had my fingers crossed what I hope is the future society. And so there are elements beyond just the mystery and thriller. So basically, I started writing at a very early, I was given access to a typewriter when I was about 8 or 9, wrote a 2-page book, 2 pages of a story, very short story. And it was a story of a family being invaded by a thug with a gun. He breaks into the living room and threatens them all. He wants their money and what have you, or he'll destroy them. And the little boy, the son, is in the kitchen, hears this. And what am I going to, he said, the boy gets a pot out, fills it with popcorn kernels and puts it on the stove and turns it up high. Within a minute, there's pop, 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 pop. And the story has this gun-wielding jerk figures the cops have broken in, so he gets the heck out. And everyone's happy after that. I never did save the story, but at least I remember it. And as I grew up, a little bit older, I started my first encounter with really impressive fiction was Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I read that when I was 10 or 11, 12 maybe. And I was just entranced. I could see everything. It was like I was seeing rather than reading. And then there was Isaac Asimov. Let's see, Robert Heinlein, Eric. There was a few other people. Then Mickey Spillane and Ernest Hemingway. They all different types of stories, from science fiction to An Old Man at the Sea, fishing. They all impress me, all pull me in different ways. And so I read a lot of fiction. Then there was high school. Then I went to engineering school in Hoboken and Stevens Tech, and studied electrical engineering. And as graduation, about a year before I graduated, I met my future wife. And my mother was a very competent woman, worked in Milwaukee. We were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She worked as a secretary for an executive at Nash Motors. And my future wife impressed me as being a very competent and confident person and how to, deal with the world. And we've been married 58 years. And when I graduated, we got married, and I'm starting to think about writing. But then came our daughter, and 2 years later, our son, and a lot of diapers in between, and a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of work demands. So the writing took a back seat. But then came 1997, and I decided 35 years was about right. And can you? Oh, let's see. Well, wow. Another question. With 58 years of marriage, can you share the secrets to a happy and successful marriage? First of all, to me, there's got to be love. You got to, you're always going to have little idiosyncrasies. I've been told once in a while I need anger management. I get, but I would lay down my life for my wife. And, we each have our little idiosyncrasies, and those have to pass by. Maybe you get you for a moment, or maybe for an hour, but it's what you really value in life. I know we work together with our kids, and we're trying to steer them in the right direction, but also let them do things for themselves. So to me, that's important. And I know when I met, my parents got divorced when I was 2, and that's why we moved from. I was born in California. That's when my mother and a much older woman, a nanny, basically, we went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that's when I, having grown up with my mother, more or less running the household and the business, being a secretary, I was impressed even at that young age. And I wanted and then my wife, to me, was of that human characteristic. And I wanted our daughter and our son to be independent and enjoying their life and their work. And so involvement with family is important. That was one of the things my wife chuckles even now. When she graduated, she went on a trip to Europe for about 2 or 3 months. I had already met her parents, and they invited me for the weekend, and I definitely went. And I wrote to her, and I sent it to, I don't know, Spain or Italy or wherever I spent the weekend at your parents. And she went, why would he do that? Oh, I just wanted to make sure there was a good family. There was the vibrations of love and helping each other. Some idiosyncrasies there that have to be accepted, and but they don't get in the way. And that's what I found. And that's what I wanted to make sure as we went forward for 58 years, we helped our kids see that. And so, I don't know if we'll have another 58 years, but we enjoy life, and we did, when I retired, my wife became a dental hygienist in the mid 70s, graduated. And yeah, I think from 77 to 99, she was a dental hygienist. And during those times, I know when our kids were young and our grandkids, I think we went to Disney World every year. I worked in East Fishkill, New York. We lived in Wappingers Falls, New York, just 10 minutes away. But when we retired, we still did Disney World. In fact, I was disappointed after many years that Mickey Mouse didn't say, "Hey, the Mitchells are here." But then we went on trips. Now it's been 24, 25 years since I retired, and it's good. I'm 83, and a little bit, cutting back on traveling or what have you. And Disney World, one of my big thrills was the roller coasters. But we haven't been to Disney World for maybe 2 years at least. So it's involvement, I think, for 58 years, having common goals, our kids, I remember sometimes, frequently my wife would take them to the doctor. Other times I'd take them to the doctor. And when they had school or what have you, or baseball games or this, whatever, we would do our best to be there and to share and talk about it later. So those are the things that probably in some ways work a little bit into the novels that I write. Let's see, I know, as I said, I think I submitted 45 to 50 manuscripts to whatever the Sundown, to different agents, and I was getting frustrated. But then I read about Vince Flynn, who's died much too early. But his first book, he submitted to more people than I did. Got no positive responses, so he self-published. And self-publishing then was not like it is now, but it did well, and he was picked up. So although I was going down and oh boy, this Sundown's not being picked up, I said, that Vince Flynn's experience gave me hope. And I started looking around at publishers, and I found a small publisher, Covenant Books, in South Carolina. And I submitted, they said, we'd be interested in reading your manuscript. And they're a Christian publisher, so they had expressed 3 restrictions that they, anything they publish could not have gratuitous violence, could not have explicit sex, and could not have anti-Christian values pushed. And I said, well, there is violence, but it's not gratuitous. It's plot driven and not bloody. There is no explicit sex. In fact, there's not even non-explicit sex. And as far as anti-Christian values, I have 2 nuns in the story. I didn't tell them until they read it later that I had the 2 nuns were killed after 2 chapters, but they were key to that section of the story. So Covenant House, once I found the publisher, they sent me the contract and I read through it. I was impressed. I made a copy, sent it to the published author that critiqued my book, Sundown, And I said, I think it's a pretty good contract. And he read it. He came back, emailed me back, says it's outstanding. Because basically everything they do, the page formatting and what have you, all the files, if at the end, whenever, if there's a termination or what have you, I, the author, own everything. They don't have a claim on it. And but their work was outstanding. I like the paging, the layout of the pages. I did the cover myself on Sundown, which is this one here. This is a mirror image type of thing, and I can't see which way I'm going. Friendship City, I contracted. I looked around for various cover designers and found, actually, it turns out it was a company in New Zealand. So things can, the worldwide net brings things together, and especially if it's digital, which a cover or text is. But again, I had Covenant Books published Friendship City. And I guess they go through Ingram Spark or what have you. So it's, again, wide distribution, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Kobo, the iBooks go through Apple iBooks. Just price-wise, the iBook of Sundown for the rest of this year is 99 cents. Friendship City is either $3.99 or $2.99. Several of the different companies couldn't quite get it together, but it's no more than $3.99 till the end of the year. I think Amazon has it at $2.99. That is basically, if you want to pick them up, they're at a fairly good price through maybe even into January. It takes them a while to get the price lowered, and it'll probably take them a while to get it raised back up. Let's see. Just trying to think of anything more I can say about Friendship City. Again, 2058. There is progress. I think it does echo. It sort of struck me as kind of spooky that it echoes. I was projecting certain things 10 years ago, and they seem to certain elements, problems with across the ideological spectrums, people trying not to listen, canceling them out. I always felt it's important to listen to people. They won't all agree with my point of view, but as I grow older, maybe I'll grow smarter, and growing smarter is listening to other people. And I hadn't thought of that point of view. That's good to have that attitude, I feel. And so that's one of the things I brought into the world, the universe of Friendship City, was listening to each other. Because I do feel if you don't listen and you turn your back and cancel them and close the door, a certain element, you're maybe afraid of what they have to say. It's good to listen. You may not change your point of view. Maybe over the years, I've started in a certain position and gravitated a little bit one way or the other. But I think it's important that I listen. And that's what I put into Friendship City. It doesn't stand out. Basically, it's a futuristic thriller, and I cover the planning of introducing from the World Council, the evil leaders, how they plan. There's several chapters on that. And then there's chapters on how the president and the detective work to defeat it. So getting here, let's see, we've been about an hour and not quite, maybe 15 minutes. Be looking for some other questions if there are some. Be more than willing to answer. I've enjoyed writing. It's keeps me out of trouble, but coming up with the ideas, and I know when I finally settled down after retiring, I had started working on that. Obviously, I had done a lot of short stories, and I'd send them in, and yeah, thank you, but. And then one young science fiction magazine, Alpha Adventures, I believe it was, I sent them a story, and they accepted it. They say, hey, we like the story. We're going to publish it in issue number 18. And when we publish it, we'll send you a check for $50. Hey, this was maybe the mid 80s, maybe $50 would buy a dinner for two. But hey, I'm great. I said, okay, great. Well, unfortunately, the magazine, they never made it to issue 18. They folded after issue number 17. So I didn't get published, but certain elements of that story maybe dribbled into Sundown. But I figured, hey, as we get into the mid 90s, 97, I retired from IBM, and at 1997, not my age, and around 2010, I say I definitely have to move from short stories to novels, and I had maybe 3 thriller, mystery, science fiction, and maybe time travel. And I started wrestling with them. But then I decided time travel is not enough. That's I think I'll stick with science fiction oriented thriller mystery type, and that was Sundown and the 7 Drafts. Progress as a writer, Friendship City maybe took 4 drafts. So, maybe the next one will only take 3. I don't know. We'll see. Friendship City and Sundown were pretty well plotted out from concept, who the characters were and everything, what was going to happen. I've got, as far as the next book, I've got the characters, obviously, and a rough idea of what I want to do. So it's a process. It's writing is to me, it's interesting. I have to do a lot of research. That's one thing I found in the last 15 years. The internet is fantastic in researching things. You type a few words into Google and you're off finding out a lot of details about how things work or the psychology of individuals. So there's a lot of tools that are at the writer's disposal. And I think that, if you're interested in writing, I think it's get to it. Decide what you want to do. If you're interested in reading, there's a lot of books now. There used to be 7 or 8 major publishers, and now they're down to 5, maybe 4. But there's a proliferation of small publishers and independent publisher, self-publishing. There's a lot of books that come out more than have in the past. So for readers, it's a bonanza of places to shop at. For writers, it's a bonanza of places to try and, once you get your book published, edited, spelling correction. That's one thing I find, spelling correction. On my iPad or what have you, sometimes it tries to change my spelling to a word. The word I type in is spelled right, but it, for some reason, didn't like it, changed it. So again, the writer is the person that creates, and will need help when before we get to publishing. We'll need help in reviewing. Again, I found my editor, critiquer, very, very helpful in saying, you should switch chapters. You have a very slow start. Excuse me. And you have to start a thriller or something like that with a more dynamic and attention-getting opening. Or there'd be, again, I think, like I mentioned, maybe you're revealing too much too soon. Hold this back and let it come out and be more startling when it does. Or tell us more about the background of an individual. Get it worked in. So there are different tricks and that he helped me find, and both books. And so that's I think an author or writer has to realize they create it, but and they will need help perhaps in it's like I did the first cover, Sundown, and that's over here. I think I got it pointed in the right direction. But Friendship City, I figured, I want someone else to do it. And I think they did a good job, excellent. And so let's see, what would there were no more questions, but so far, I love your editor's suggestions, making their characters' development not too fast and not too slow. That's that was integrated with the action going on. Excuse me a second. Integrate the character development with and the story development too. Let the character his problems with his daughter and granddaughter and what have you, visiting her in the hospital, that is intermixed with the progress in the story, Sundown, and in Friendship City. And the minor characters, the granddaughter and a few other smaller characters, they make their contribution too. So it's a diverse, there's family involved. And that was my editor said, and not only the characters, but the plot lines. And I believe he was right. I learned a lot. I didn't change the story itself. I just changed how it was revealed, and hopefully made it more interesting. And an experienced author will help you. He would say, if you foreshadow too much, people aren't going to be interested. They won't turn the page, and so that was helpful. And creative process needs assistance and some guidance, and that's what I found. And I'm sure most authors, appreciate a little guidance here and there. When you get to be a best-selling author, and after many books, you pretty well got it nailed down. And I think anybody starting to write, they would benefit from people, either on Facebook. They have writing communities. On my website, carlhmitchell.com, I list some author communities. Let's see. And would you be participating in a physical book fair sooner? Well, I have. I was going to, I guess, set up for one in New York City, Manhattan, last year at the Javits Center, but that was canceled. Los Angeles and Tucson next year, I would have to see. We fly basically between Hillsborough, New Jersey, and Tarpon Springs, Florida, and that's basically our. If there was an interesting, I'm not against it. Flying is, workable. So I've been to. I'm a member in 2 writers groups. I think that's advisable too for anybody who wanted to write. Find a local writers group, maybe your library. Both of them that I am, one in Hillsborough here. Unfortunately, they meet once a month. The one in Tarpon Springs meets once a week, and you'll read something, and there'll be a range of people. Some people will they react to the use of adverbs and this and that, so they'll get down into detail. Myself, did you grab me? Did I get carried along by the story? I don't care if you maybe misused a word or two, but if I feel I'm part of the story, you did a good job. And getting the sniffles. And to me, different ways of critiquing, of giving advice. That's what you find in a writer's group. And your local library is probably the place to go if you're a writer. If you're a reader, obviously, a library is a place to go. And I find I've got a lot of books now on Amazon and Apple iBooks, ebooks, basically. I also have a lot of paperbacks and hardbacks, probably too many. But to me, it's a great time for books, either to write or to read. There's more different approaches and ways of doing things than there was, say, 25 years ago. Let's see. Boy, I guess we got about 3 or 4 minutes left here. Are there any further questions? Let's see, I'll probably be another year or two before the third book comes out. Actually, before it goes to the publisher. How does foreshadowing help with character and plot development in the story? I think a low level of foreshadowing, but the first thing that caught my editor's attention, I was had a minor character that had some significance to the story in Sundown, was infiltrating a corrupt organization for maybe the equivalent of CIA or something like that. And I've had a chapter where he was discovered and shot outside in Manhattan on top of this rectangle, this grid. But later, for 3 or 4 or 5 chapters later, his friend Buddy, who was on the detective force with him for about 10 years before this fellow left, found him dead. He said it's more important to find this person at that point in time, not to show how he died. And so I cut that out. There was a scene that was removed. But characters, I think, that was foreshadowing an event, foreshadowing a character trait. That can be done slowly, a little bit here, a little bit there, to give the reader, this fellow seems to be a self-minded person, a little bit shallow maybe, or this is a very generous person, maybe too generous. You can slowly build this up, I feel. And therefore, when the rubber meets the road, and it's more important, the reader doesn't say, where did all that come from? You can say, oh, that fits. And it fits with the storyline and the person. I think we're heading towards the end of the hour, and I'd like to thank anybody watching, and I'd like to thank Reader's Magnet too. They've done a great job. And again, Sundown and Friendship City, published in iBook or ebook format, paperback and hardback, available iBook only in Apple iBooks, but the other formats in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and a lot of other places. So again, also go to my website, carlhmitchell.com, and you can read a bit more about the book Sundown. Definitely, I have to add more for Friendship City. And if you're interested in writer communities, I've got about 5 or 6, 7 of them listed, and their websites. And I want to thank you all very much for listening in. Again, this is Carl H. Mitchell, author and of Sundown and Friendship City, books 1 and 2 in a trilogy. The third to come out, hopefully, in another couple of years. Again, I want to thank you very much. And I guess it's time to wrap up, since we're, I guess we're, the little clock up on the top that I see is 59 minutes and 51 seconds. So again, thank you very much. And I guess we should, I don't know how this gets turned off, but thank you very much.